Hey Yins, it's Megan, back to tell you once again about one of my favorite block parties, Open Streets Pittsburgh. The June Shindig is almost here, and for the first time ever, it's going through the Hill District. Bike Pittsburgh is shutting down 3.5 miles of roadway from the Hill through downtown, across the Roberto Clemente Bridge, and all the way into the north side. Leave your car at home for this one and come walk, bike, roll, even skip across the bridge if that is your thing. There's always so much to do and see at Open Streets Pittsburgh. Plus, the CityCast Pittsburgh team will be there with an open mic. It's all going down Saturday, June 29th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Make your plans at openstreetspgh.org.
Hey CityCast friends, producer Sophia Lowe here. I am still checking off all the classic local summer activities. I'm going to Presque Isle for the first time. I've got tickets to a Pirates game where I will be scarfing down a renegade dog with the mini pierogies. I'm so excited. But we also want to hear from you. What's on your Pittsburgh summer bucket list? Tell us and you might hear your answer on the show. You can email us at pittsburgh@citycast.fm, or you could text us or leave us a voicemail. Our phone number is 412-212-8893. That's 412-212-8893. We can't wait to hear from you.
Today on CityCast Pittsburgh, school is out, and Pittsburgh Public is using their summer vacation to consider whether some schools have to close or consolidate. If you've got a flight coming up, getting to the airport early is unfortunately more important than ever. And with Independence Day coming right up, we have some fun Pittsburgh-y flag facts to share. It's June 28th, the Friday News Roundup. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. I'm with CityCast producers Mallory Falk and Sophia Lowe. How you doing?
Good. Good morning.
Hey, Megan. Doing well.
Sophia, I heard you have some good news.
Yes, good news for me. I recently got my refund back for the Sudden Little Thrills concert.
Aww.
I am really glad this happened. First, because it was a lot of money. And second, there have been some concert and festival scams around here lately. And I'm sure a lot of those people who were unfortunately scammed are struggling to contact their credit card companies and get their money back.
Man, I cannot get over this. We included some of these in our Hey Pittsburgh newsletter this week, but I'm still kind of shocked that it's happened now multiple times.
Right?
WPXI reported that a Biggie and Tupac live orchestra concert at a former church never really happened. That does feel very Pittsburgh, though. Like, that ticks a lot of boxes for us. I guess when people showed up, the doors were locked and the company that put up the fake concert closed off any way to contact them. Like, wow, that is such a level of dedication and, like, really impressive trolling.
Yes, and even more trolling in our midst. There was this hot air balloon festival in South Park that ended up being a scam. The quote-unquote company behind it is called Hot Air America. I mean, it's there in the name, people. Not real. All hot air. Anyway, they say this event is going to happen next year, but that seems pretty unlikely. They've apparently also advertised in Chicago, so if you've got any friends there who are interested, please tell them not to buy tickets.
Wow.
I feel like I'm pretty good at spotting scams, but one person told WPXI that for the Biggie and Tupac concert, they got like a confirmation email and all that usual stuff that would come with a concert. So now I'm worried I'll get overly excited about something new and buy a ticket without doing my research, and this will happen to me.
Yeah, Sophia, I feel like the group chat is going to have to spend like a few extra minutes Googling things to make sure that everything is real. Or, pro tip, you can always try contacting the venue if something looks fishy.
Okay, so besides concert scams, what other news do you have for us, Sophia?
I have some airport news. The wait times are super long, and I'm actually getting on a flight later today. I'm dreading it a little bit. Are either of you traveling for the 4th of July?
I am, but a few days from now, and like not during what's supposed to be the worst times. I don't know. I'm really hoping it's not too bad.
I am also traveling, but I'm patting past Mallory on the back for deciding to drive instead of fly. Mostly I made that decision so that we could bring our dog with us, but I am feeling pretty good about my choice now that the airport lines are out of control.
I'm so jealous that you're driving, Mallory. First, because I just hate flying in general. And second, we keep getting warnings about the wait times at the Pittsburgh airport being absolutely ridiculous this week. On Monday, PIT officials recommended travelers get to the airport 2.5 to 3 hours early because the security lines have just been that long.
I won't do it. It's not going to happen. No.
And risk missing your flight? Good luck, Megan.
It's a protest. I can't.
Okay, Megan, that is bold. I guess depending what time your flight is, because officials are recommending that people with flights between 5 and 8 a.m. are the ones specifically who need to get there like up to 3 hours in advance, because that is the busiest time of day.
My flight is at 8:30 in the morning, so I am just hoping a prayer that is safe, because 3 hours is not, with a toddler, never going to happen.
Oof. Okay, but Sophia, fill us in. Like, why are these waits so long? I mean, my guess would be it's just this time of year, but people have traveled in the summer before. Is it, I don't know, due to all the construction at the airport?
Yeah, that's a good question. A spokesperson for the airport, Bob Kurlick, told the Trib that there aren't any specific problems. It is just a really busy time of year for traveling. According to Kurlick, May was the busiest month that the airport has seen in 17 years. And I guess now that it's summer and people get off for 4th of July, it would make sense that even more people are flying.
I feel like part of this, too, is also just the extended period beyond the pandemic where we're just all like, okay, we're over it. We need to see the world now.
Yeah, and I mean, the pandemic isn't actually over, unfortunately,
Fair.
but it is true that more people
Wear a
are
mask,
feeling
we're all
comfortable
flying.
Yes.
Exactly. You know, take it off to sneak in that little complimentary pretzel and put it back on.
Yeah. Yes, I agree completely. I will have my mask on regardless of what time I get there. For what it's worth, apparently this is not a Pittsburgh-specific trend. The TSA says they broke their record for the most travelers screened in a day this past Sunday, and they expect to do the exact same thing today on Friday. So Godspeed to you, Sophia, this afternoon. I guess it is a good moment to have pre-check. I hope it is anyway.
Maybe. According to people on Reddit earlier this week, TSA pre-check lines were still taking longer than usual as well. But it sounds like the airport is trying to address this issue. So they just announced that starting on July 8th, the alternate checkpoint at the airport will just be for people with TSA pre-check, at least from 4 to 7 a.m. on weekdays. So hopefully this is a good solution. It's kind of weird that they're doing this after 4th of July, in my opinion, but I do not know airport logistics. But there are also a bunch of new seasonal flights in and out of Pittsburgh right now. So I guess that's just contributing to just more people in the airport generally.
Yeah, hopefully by next year it won't be as bad. Part of that huge renovation project that is supposed to be done by then includes a much larger security area.
Yes. But one more pro tip, apparently wait times drop a lot more a little bit later in the morning, like around 10 a.m. and in the afternoon. So you don't need to rush to the airport at 1 p.m. to catch a 5 p.m. flight, but I'm planning to add a little cushion anyway, just to be safe.
Yins know we are always here for a Best of the Berg weekend recommendation, and I am coming in hot with a big one. The Pittsburgh Parks Conservancy is teaming up with 11th Hour Brewing for a Parks on Tap tour. It's a summer beer garden series that kicks off June 30th at the Shenley Park Visitor Center. So from 1 to 7 p.m., you'll get live music, Black Cat Pizza's food truck. I can finally confirm it is so delicious. And of course, sip on a brewski. Plus, you're drinking for a cause, because some of that beer money goes right back into our city parks. So mark your calendars for the Parks Conservancy's Parks on Tap tour. That's Sunday, June 30th in Shenley Park, Saturday, July 20th in Allegheny Commons Park, and Sunday, August 18th in Highland Park. Plus, keep an eye out for more about September. Tickets to the beer garden are totally free, but registration is recommended. So get online, that's pittsburghparks.org/beer-garden, and get your spots today.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, CEO of CityCast. Or, as I can say now, thanks to a few weeks with Babbel, hola, soy David Plotz, el jefe de CityCast. What if in 2024 you got a little bit better every day? When you're learning a new language with Babbel, that's exactly what you're doing. And if Babbel can help me start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks, imagine what you could do in a full year. I got started with Babbel because I realized that my girlfriend, who's a native Spanish speaker, and my son, who's in AP Spanish, were conspiring against me, or I thought they were conspiring against me in Spanish. I wanted to know what they were talking about. And now, thanks to literally just a few weeks of Babbel, I'm starting to be able to eavesdrop. It is rare that something so fun and simple, and Babbel is super fun and very simple, is also so useful. So here's a special limited time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for CityCast listeners at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
So with all this talk about summer travel, it might be a weird time to think about school. Pittsburgh Public Schools just got out for the summer a couple weeks ago. But I wanted to bring up this education story because it's actually kind of time sensitive if anyone out there wants to weigh in. So Pittsburgh Public Schools is worried about money. Right now, the district is projected to deplete its fund balance by 2026. Yeah, not great. And so as a cost-cutting measure, it's considering closing or consolidating some schools, along with a few other changes.
That is never a popular move, but I guess I get it.
Nope, never popular. The district is holding a bunch of town halls this summer to get community feedback. That's the time-sensitive part.
It's a bummer. It feels like school closures and consolidations are always like the looming threat around Pittsburgh. I know their school buildings are so old and would be so expensive to update them. And then, of course, enrollment is also down.
Yeah, I mean, according to PPS, the average age of buildings in the district is 90 years old. And
Whoa,
it's not like these have been
yikes.
renovated, upgraded through the years.
That's much older than I expected, actually.
I know a bunch of schools keep having to temporarily go remote because they don't have air conditioning and it's too hot for students to, be sitting inside those buildings. So I guess with that in mind, I'm not surprised. A lot of these buildings are pretty ancient.
I was thinking ancient on the level of like 50 years, though, not
That's
90.
our bridges, not our school buildings.
We've learned a lot this week.
Yeah.
I mean, and fewer students, of course, means less money, fewer resources. It's a compounding effect.
I remember reading that PPS proposed closing 6 schools a few years ago, but then backtracked. So I guess now they're revisiting that conversation.
Yeah, and just to put some numbers on all of this, I've seen reporting that school buildings here have the capacity to seat about 40,000 students total. But right now, there's only about 20,000 students enrolled in the district. WESA got its hands on a district report looking at building utilization, and it found that almost half of the school buildings in the district are less than half full.
Whoa, that's pretty wild. Also, school districts here are just so much bigger than in New Jersey in terms of number of people. 40,000 sounds really huge to me.
Well, 40,000 sounds huge to Pittsburgh Public, too.
Yeah, we've got half as many at this moment.
And there are lots of reasons why our city school district is struggling financially, including those payments that they have to make to charter schools and cyber charters. That is its own episode. But bottom line, the district's looking for ways to save money right now. And so schools might be on the chopping block again.
Yeah, I mean, logically, it kind of makes sense, right? If you've got these old buildings that aren't really well equipped or the best places for children, and they're only half full anyway, why not consolidate them? But I know it's more complicated than that for kids, especially.
Yeah, and I mean, I've talked about this on the show before. I used to be an education reporter in New Orleans during a period when a bunch of schools were getting closed down or converted into charters, which is also its whole own story. But closures can be pretty disruptive and harmful for students and families. They lose community, stability. Sometimes kids end up having to travel much further for school. And closures and consolidations often affect the most vulnerable students. I saw a public source cite a national study that found schools serving predominantly Black students are more likely to be shut down than any other ones.
Ugh, that's not surprising to hear, but still really terrible nonetheless. So for PBS, what's their plan? Are they going to be like looking at which schools have the least students?
That's one thing, but it looks like they're going to weigh a number of different factors, including what shape the school buildings are in, if they just require some general maintenance or need major renovations, whether the buildings have space for music, art, a gym for sports, some other factors too. Then there's a whole nother proposal about changing up feeding patterns.
Yeah, feeding patterns being the path that a kid takes based on their neighborhood. So you get districted into a specific school. So which elementary leads to which middle school, which leads to a high school, that whole thing.
Yeah, and then there's another consideration on the table. So right now there are a lot of K-8 schools or 6-12 schools, and the district's revisiting whether different age groupings might make more sense, like restore the traditional 6-8 middle school.
Oh, okay. So I guess this is the part where the town halls come in to see what families think of all these ideas.
Yeah, so the school board hired a consulting firm from Boston to help figure this all out.
My God, PPS loves to blow money on a dang study. How often do they do this?
Yeah, money is tight, but not too tight for a study.
No.
But yeah, so this consulting firm is going to do an analysis of all of the facilities and then come up with recommendations for school officials. But they also say they want those recommendations to be guided by the community. So they are hosting town halls throughout the summer to get that input. A few already happened, but there are a bunch more coming up throughout July. There's one on the 9th at Concord, on the 10th at Liberty, on the 11th at Obama, on the 16th at Jeron Grayson Community Center, and on the 23rd at Morrow Intermediate. These will all be in the evening, and we will drop a link in the show notes with more information.
I really hope that the consultants and then also the school board take into consideration what residents say. But I don't know, man, sometimes these town halls just feel like a way for folks in leadership to listen, but then do whatever they want anyway.
Yes, for sure. Sometimes it seems like only lip service to community engagement, but I guess we'll see what this version looks like. In terms of a timeline, school officials are expected to present recommendations for closures or consolidations to the school board in August. There's some back and forth about whether that date will get pushed back so that there's more time for community input. But once those recommendations are presented, there will be a public hearing process, and then the school board will ultimately make its final vote.
So all of this is stuff we'll be watching and following and probably talking about more in depth as time goes on. So stay tuned.
Last up, Megan, what have you been thinking about?
This is just a fun bit of Pittsburgh lore to take us into the weekend. But as a city, did Jens know that we are very into the American flag?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I feel like I've definitely seen more American flags on display in some other cities I've traveled to than in Pittsburgh. But, our city flag is kind of a hot mess. There's so much going on, a castle, a coat of arms, black and gold bands. It's very busy. So maybe people here are looking for something a little more streamlined?
Maybe. I do like that our flag, though, is black and gold and all of our sports teams are black and gold. It's very convenient in terms of the wardrobe.
We're the only city with that.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it so neat?
Yes, truly. But anyway, tell us about the American flag.
Yes. So this is sort of a mix of Flag Day stuff, which was earlier this month, and Independence Day stuff, which is obviously just a few days away. So the Second Continental Congress, we're going way back in time, was held in Philly beginning in 1775. It lasted multiple years. So 2 years later, on June 14th, what we now call Flag Day, they adopted Betsy Ross's creation as the official flag of this whole new America.
Yes, you are taking me back to my 5th grade field trip of historic Philly.
Yes. But the whole reason it even became Flag Day is because of a very persistent Pittsburgher. So while he was still in school, this guy from Collier Township, William Kerr, founded the American Flag Day Association. This was in the late 1800s, and he lobbied Congress and the White House for 50 years. 50.
That's so much dedication. I cannot imagine doing anything for 50 years.
I really hope no one comes for me when I say that is too much dedication for a piece of fabric.
I kind of agree. Congress, obviously, eventually approved it, and he got to stand next to the president, President Truman at the time, when it was signed into law. but he only got it as a national observance. It is actually not a federal bank holiday anywhere but in Pennsylvania. We are the only state that decided to make it extra special.
Then why didn't I get my day off?
I mean, honestly.
CityCast HQ, this is a question for you.
Always in favor of more days off. In the meantime, while he was waiting for Congress to recognize that official day, he went on this whole campaign to erect a monument here in Pittsburgh, and that monument is still up today.
Okay, I'm going to guess that this is Flagstaff Hill, only because that's the only Pittsburgh spot I know of that has flag in its name.
Well done. Credit to Kevin Gavin, who has been writing our Hey Pittsburgh newsletter a lot this month. He's really the scholar on all of this. So in 1927, Kerr organized more than 180,000 children to contribute 1 penny each to build a monument at the bottom of Flagstaff Hill, right in front of Phipps and Shenley Park. It was originally dedicated on June 14th, 1927, which was at the time the 150th anniversary of the flag's adoption. The park system has since moved it across the street just by the sidewalk there.
But isn't there also something here called Flag Plaza? Is that different?
Bingo. Look at you guys. Mallory knew about one flag thing and Sophia knows about the other.
Our powers combined.
Flag Plaza is in the Hill District right off Bedford Avenue. So it's a memorial there beside the local Boy Scouts Council. So they have 5 huge flag poles there. I think they're 80 feet tall. One is a U.S. flag, one is Pittsburgh's, and then the 3 other are for the states that they serve. So Pennsylvania, Maryland, and West Virginia.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I always wondered why we had like a couple random states. That makes sense. Not entirely random. And now we have made it to the Pittsburgh flag again.
Yes, full circle, all the way back. And I didn't know this before reading about it, but apparently there are also rules to disposing of old American flags. So there are spots in North and South Parks that are designed for it. And there's this lady in Cranberry who Kevin talked to a while back who personally collects American flags for quote unquote honorable disposal, with help from folks from like the VA and American Legion and Boy Scouts and others. She's collected 46,000 flags since she started this whole project in 2011.
She feels like the direct descendant of the guy who dedicated 50 years of his life to getting a flag day.
I don't know. I kind of like the modern incarnation better, honestly. Like, a lot of people don't know how to throw away things. And this feels like kind of like the same questions we get in our inbox all the time about how do I recycle this or that?
Oh, I still don't know the recycling rules. We should do an episode on that.
And last but never least, I want to know what everyone's going to be thinking about into the weekend. Mine is decidedly unsexy, but the county has finally hired both a new coroner and a new health department director. These positions are really important to making our region work the way it's supposed to, and I am just very glad to have them. So if you are listening, welcome. We are very glad to have you. Mallory, what about you?
So speaking of the county, Schumann Juvenile Detention Center is expected to reopen soon, potentially in the next few weeks. It got shut down in 2021. At the time, it was run by the county. The State Department of Human Services revoked their license because of violations that added up to gross incompetence, negligence, and misconduct. I'm quoting here from an official document outlining the violations. Since then, young people have ended up in Allegheny County Jail, which is an adult jail, or they've been sent to youth detention facilities that are pretty far away. There has been a lot of controversy around reopening the center in general, and also a lot of controversy around the group that's been selected to run it, Adelphoi. There have been lawsuits against Adelphoi alleging that it's failed to protect children in its care from abuse. I know we will discuss this more in depth on the show in the future, but it's definitely something I'm keeping my eye on as they are poised to reopen the center.
Definitely. Sophia, you want to round us out?
Yes, as usual, I've got something a little fun, something to do with animals. On Tuesday morning, a deer got stuck in the Highland Park Reservoir. And
Is that fun?
It gets better. The poor little guy was swimming around with his head just above the water. WPXI has some photos. We'll link in the show notes if you want to see them. The deer is fine now. The deer was rescued, but I truly cannot fathom how a deer got in the reservoir. That's a pretty big jump over the fence.
I don't know, man. I've seen a motivated deer. Those things can really like get some vert, you know?
This is making me glad I always have Zero on a leash when I walk her around the reservoir. I do not want my puppy in those waters.
If she ever gets into the reservoir, I would jump in to save her.
Aw, thanks, Sophia.
Someone would then need to jump in to save me. I don't know how to get out of there with a dog.
So much love. One last note before we go. The CityCast Pittsburgh team will be in the Public again tomorrow. So that's Saturday, June 29th. We're probably going to get out there, I don't know, around 10 a.m. For open streets. It's really fun. The streets all get closed down for bikers, walkers, runners, rollerbladers, jump rope, whatever you love. But you can hang out with us. You can talk into a microphone if the spirit moves you. It's going from the Hill District into the North Side this time. We will be posted up on the Hill District side, close to the Thelma Leavitt YMCA. That's like near Center and Addison. Please come say hi, and also look for your city officials, because there is a Meet Your City Government meet and greet right next to us while we're doing it. And you best believe we will be eavesdropping.
Yes, come be nubby.
That's all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. Our music is by Benji. Mallory Falk is our executive producer. Sophia Lowe and Francisco Kilgore produce the show. Kevin Gavin and Adrian Gonzalez wrote the newsletter, and I am your host, Megan Harris. We'll be back on Monday with more news from around the city. Have a great weekend, everyone.
You need to lead with no animals were harmed in this process.
Okay, no animals were harmed in this process.